All right, viewers, an unprecedented, cruel summer which has never ever taken place or happened where India or North India is concerned. We're going to witness temperatures like that, plus a cold shortage, not well planning or poor planning by the government. What else is keeping you in these long power cuts? The fact is, viewers, you might be paying your electricity bill, your state might be defaulting. Now, if you actually look at it, if we break it down, there are multiple states that are facing debilitating power cuts and they still haven't paid their power bills. Now, the state of Maharashtra owes 21,163 crore. It's defaulted on that much of an amount in terms of paying their bills. Now, clearly, the ones who are supplying them the electricity fairly sick of, the constant rain check that they are getting from Maharashtra. Tamil Nadu owes a power bill of 22 crores 756 crores. Let's quickly go to the other state. From Tamil Nadu, if you look at Rajasthan, Rajasthan's power bill, which is defaulted by, is to the tune of 12,163 crores. Uttar Pradesh owes 11,825 crores. Andhra Pradesh, 10,229 crores. Telangana, 8,239 crores. Punjab, 1,973 crores. And Delhi owes 788 crores. Now, these are just some of the states, viewers, that we are putting together that are going through some of the worst power crisis. But one of the main reasons is also they are telling you that there's a cold shortage. They are telling you, summer came even before spring. It's unprecedented. But are they telling you that they themselves haven't paid their electricity bill while you continue to do so? We're going to break it down and get you more information. Joining me right now in the studio with me is Siddharth Zarabi. He's our managing editor, Business Today. Siddharth, very quickly encapsulate the states that have defaulted on their power bill and possibly is the reason why many of us are facing these horrible power cuts.
You asked a very nice question. What are the states not telling their voters and their taxpayers? 70% of the 1,25,000 crore rupees that remain unpaid and overdue above 45 days are from the states of Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, UP, AP and Telangana. Those numbers, Preeti, you just gave them. What does this mean? That if demand has gone up, and demand has gone up by 12%, right. April last year to April this year, peak total aggregate demand has shot up to 205 gigawatt. And that's a 12% increase. So it's very simple. No one needs to be an economist to understand. If there is higher demand, the producer should be able to produce that power and provide it to you and me. The producers are producing the power, but the distribution company, which is the state government, have not paid them. And if you're not paying them, how will the producer keep churning out power? The producer himself has problems, which is shortage of coal, which, by the way, people in government are now telling me will be over in 6 to 8 weeks. But there's very little that you can do to what has happened to international coal post the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So let's leave the producers aside for a moment. Let's not blame all of us for more demand, for consuming more power. The problem lies in the middle, where these states have built up this huge unpaid 1,25,000 crore. And Preeti, very lastly, this is deep politics. Why don't they offer free milk? Why don't they offer free telephone services? Why do they only promise free power? And that too is actually a chimera, because very few people get to benefit because they control power distribution. And that is where the singular problem in this sector lies.
Appreciate you joining us, Siddharth. Thank you there for breaking it down. Let's now, go political. Joining me is Tuhin Sinha, spokesperson BJP, Gurdeep Sappal, spokesperson Congress, Reena Gupta, spokesperson Aam Aadmi Party. Reena Gupta, you've promised free power in Punjab. You've promised free power in Delhi. You still haven't paid your Delhi bill. Leave alone Punjab. Even Punjab is outstanding, but of course you've only taken, you formed your government a couple of months ago. So that could be forgiven. It's an old bill. But what about Delhi? Your Delhi bill is overdue, ma'am.
Preeti, when we inherited the Delhi dysfunctional power sector in 2014, Delhi government owed around 3,000 crores to the DISCOMs. It's in the past 7 years that we've brought it down, and it's only because of sheer political will and huge investments in the transformation of the Delhi electricity companies that the Delhi DISCOMs are in one of the best shapes in the country right now. And right now the country is actually facing up a coal shortage, which is absolutely because of the mismanagement of the central government. We all knew that the economy is recovering and the demand for electricity will go up. Most of our electricity is still filled by thermal power plants. So we knew that the coal demand will shoot up and the government was just not prepared. So it's mismanagement at the highest level. As of now, because Delhi did an advanced planning and we bought more electricity, anticipating this huge demand for the summer, there are no power cuts in Delhi. You compare that to Uttar Pradesh or any other neighboring states, they are huge. There are 10 to 12-hour power cuts. So I would say that Delhi is still in very good shape because we anticipated this demand and we bought more than what was required. Delhi electricity story, Preeti, is actually a story which other states should emulate because in the
You're in debt by over 700 crores.
Yes, which is much, much lower, Preeti, as compared to what we inherited 7 years ago. Delhi has one of the lowest transmission losses as compared to any other state in the country. Power theft is the lowest in Delhi. So Delhi's story is actually a very good story to, where the power tariff is low and the DISCOMs are in very good shape. The reason other states are in bad shape is because there's huge corruption in the DISCOMs. So unless we have these reforms in the DISCOMs in these states, which the state governments are refusing to do. That is the reason why you see such power cuts in other states and not
Tuhin Sinha, Tuhin Sinha, the state of Madhya Pradesh, I can keep going on and on in terms of the states which are run by the Bharatiya Janata Party and the amount that your run states have defaulted on. Madhya Pradesh, it's insane the kind of bill that Madhya Pradesh owns.
Preeti, Siddharth Zarabi has put things in perspective. Well, yes, Madhya Pradesh could be one of the defaulters. Primarily, it is the states of Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Delhi, and Rajasthan who are responsible for the crisis. Now, let me put things in perspective.
Uttar Pradesh, you're skipping Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh is one of the defaulters, which Siddharth also named.
Unprecedented demand on account of a massive reopening of the economy. I think India has, India's record so far as coal production and offtake is concerned is the highest. India's power demand met is highest. These were stated both in 2013-14, the coal production and offtake stood at 566 MT and 672 MT. Till 2021-22, it is 777 MT and 818 MT. So there is no problem on that account. But please understand that electricity is a concurrent list. So while, the central government is a facilitator, the distribution and the providing electricity to the end consumer is the task of the state government, which is where some of the state governments have been mismanaging the whole thing. And I'm sure Siddharth Zarabi would agree on this. So I think,
which includes the state of Uttar Pradesh, Tuhin Sinha.
I think if you're going to each of the states, it would be better to get a representative from each of the states because the issues are different at the state. But what I'm trying to say is that, this is a very temporary problem as far as the central government is concerned because supply is not a problem. Availability is not a problem despite the Ukraine war, despite an unanticipated demand on account of a, better than expected reopening of the economy. I think both coal production and offtake and maximum power demand met has been up to the level. I think it's a matter of time before some of the states get their act together and this problem, in any case, the problem is way better than it would have been 5 years ago.
Gurdeep Sappal, you're in government in Maharashtra. Maharashtra, after the state of Tamil Nadu, owes the maximum amount in terms of debt, in terms of unpaid bills. Rajasthan, your debt is huge in terms of unpaid bills. And like Reena Gupta said, you've also handed them a big fat bill where Punjab is concerned.
Well, I'd like to give a different perspective on this entire crisis because there's something which your channel has so far not shared with its viewers. 8 months back, also there was a coal crisis, 8 months back, and now it has happened again. So this is not a temporary occurrence. It's a cyclical thing. And there has to be a reason for a cyclical occurrence, because India used to witness power shortage early in this century, up to 2002, 2003, 2004. There were huge cuts in India everywhere. 2004 onwards, there was a massive plan to generate, to have the infrastructure to generate electricity. From 1 lakh megawatt in 2004, India started producing 2.5 lakh in 2014, which went up to 3.26 lakh in 17, and now it is 4 lakh, out of which 60% is thermal, because it was always thought that India is the second largest producer of coal in the world. So we have coal, our production will go on increasing to meet the requirement, and the transport infrastructure will go on improving. So dedicated freight corridors were planned and then launched. These are the two conditions. But what has happened since? Since 2018, the coal production stagnated. And 19, 20, 21, it actually dropped. It dropped because the imported coal was very cheap, and Modi government, in its own wisdom, decided to import coal and not focus on production of coal, increasing the production. After the crisis last year, they have again started to focus on increase. But it takes 4 to 5 years for coal mines to come into their full cycle. So we have lost 3 years. For the first time since 1947, when the coal production was almost, I think, 30 million ton, we have dropped for the first time in 1920, 2021. The first time it happened, Modi government never foresee the requirement which was coming up, because our power generation installed capacity is very high now. We need coal for that. And second, the dedicated freight corridors, which were to be completed by 17, 18, have not yet been completed. So today, Coal India Limited is saying that we have coal, states should make their own arrangement, because trains cannot carry it. How can a state make their arrangement if trains are not carrying it? Because the dedicated corridors have not been completed. So these are two things. And this is why this short-sightedness of killing the domestic indigenous production in favor of imported coal has led us to this situation. And if you say of peak demand, let me inform your viewers that last year, on 7th July, the peak demand was 200.5 gigawatt. So we had distribution capacity, we had transmission lines for 200.5. And this year, so far, it is 201. So just half a gigawatt higher. So we certainly have the distribution capability. We certainly have the production power generation capability. But the entire planning of coal supply and coal transportation in last 3 years took a hit, and the entire country is now suffering. And in the process, let me also tell you last thing. Coal India Limited produces almost 60% of Indian coal. And Coal India's Limited total value in 2012-13 was 48,000 crore.
Tuhin, give him a minute. I'll go to Reena Gupta and I'll come back to you. Let him finish.
Crore.
Okay.
So they have
but Mr. Sappal, you still haven't answered why your states haven't paid their bills. I'll come back and ask that question again, because you wanted to talk about something else.
Reena Gupta, I was telling where the answer is.
Well, I'm going to come back and again ask you that. But and you can re-answer that question. But Reena Gupta, I'm going to ask you, questions are now also being raised that, the Aam Aadmi Party will resort to populism. You will offer free electricity. First, at least pay your bills. If you've said that you've inherited, this debt, if you say that you've inherited the defaulters list with your name now in it, be it Delhi or Punjab, clear that debt, before you also start doling out free electricity.
Preeti, these are priorities that the state government has. We think that providing lifeline electricity, providing lifeline water is a responsibility of the state government, and this was a promise that we are fulfilling. But Preeti, you have to see at the same time that in Delhi, we are still managing the DISCOMs very well. There is no load shedding. We anticipated this huge power demand. We bought electricity.
Reena Gupta, many people in Delhi will not agree with you. It's not that we are not facing power cuts. There are many areas which are facing debilitated power cuts.
Very little power cuts in Delhi, Preeti. You talk to people living in Noida and Gurgaon, there are 12-hour power cuts in both of these places. But Preeti, one last point that I wanted to make is that the central government is always finding some excuse or the other. They are not in opposition. They are running the country. So whether it's shortage of coal, high fuel prices, how is the economy going to recover if the engines of the economy, the drivers of the economy are not there? Everybody knew that we are coming out of COVID, the demand is going to be high. Why was the central government not prepared for this high demand? Where is the focus?
All right, Tuhin Sinha, you've been wanting to come in. Go ahead.
It's a little rich on the part of those people who presided over the worst coal scam to give us sermons on coal production. Between 2013-14 and 2021-22, there has been a 37% increase in coal production and a 43% increase in coal offtake. If that is not an exceptional increase, then what is? It only shows that there has been an immense increase in, more than expected increase in economic and industrial activity, which is actually a good sign for India. And I'm repeating, whatever crisis that you're witnessing is a very temporary phenomena. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, you have extensively traveled across states. You have seen the improvement in power distribution when you talk to the voters. What you're experiencing today is a temporary problem. I don't think it's a national problem, and the states have their own issues. So,
okay, Mr. Sappal, you want to come?
Let me respond to this.
Yes.
Number one, this entire issue of coal scam was a notional loss thing, bogey created by BJP. Even after 8 years, it finds no way, there was no scam. But because of that notional theory created by BJP through its own network, 200 blocks of coal production were sealed. They were taken down after the CAG report. And it took another 5 years for the private mining to start. 90 million coal production suffered because of that political report by CAG, which finds no mention in any court of law today, which was entirely a fake imaginary scam. But the country suffered. And it took 5 years for the private mining to again take off. And this is what India is suffering today. I think we should answer, why did CAG produce that fake bogus report of imaginary loss? And BJP has not recovered any of that money. 1,86,000 crore rupees they used to shout from rooftop that there has been a scam. But there was no scam, but our entire coal story suffered. And second thing, yes, coal production has increased in 8 years, but it stagnated in 18, it dropped for next 2 years, and it is because of these 3 years that country is now facing problem. It faced last year, it is facing again. So please do not try to avoid this question. It has nothing to do with unpaid money. It has nothing to do with coal scam. It has to do because Modi government decided to purchase cheap coal, imported coal, because to save money. And this is what Dr. Manmohan Singh...
I'm going to go into a quick break, but Gurdeep Sappal, how is it that these are states run by the Congress that are the maximum amount that they owe to the DISCOM? Yes, go ahead.
Last thing, Dr. Manmohan Singh wrote an editorial last week. He advised against this short-sightedness in the petrol sector also, where he said we can get cheaper petrol
but
today.
Mr. Sappal, you're refusing to answer the questions that we are asking you. I'm going to go into a quick break. Appreciate you all three for joining us. We're going to close this debate. Thank you there. Up next is my colleague Shiv Arur. We are hoping that things get better, but with most experts suggest it's going to be a horrible, cruel summer up ahead. Thank you for watching.